Hello, I'm Robin and welcome to Multi-Music Technology. Today we're looking at the Cre8audio East Beast. The East Beast is an East Coast synthesis-inspired subtractive semi-modular little synthesizer slash Eurorack voice. It has one oscillator, a filter, an envelope, an LFO, a VCA, and then it has a little bit of magic just permeating in through the bottom section here. It's capable of smooth, buttery sounds. It's capable of weirdness and strangeness. It's capable of taking you out into the woods and leaving you pondering on the nature of life. It's been really interesting because when I first received the East Beast, I absolutely assumed that this was going to be an edgy, bone-splitting, nasty monster of a synthesizer. And it's not that. But that's not to take anything away, because what it is this gentle soul of mellow thoughtfulness. It's like one of those monster movies when you discover that the monster is actually just a poor, fragile little being that's reaching out for love and attention. So the mysterious beast in the woods that they're talking about is this fractured soul of analog synthesis, of smooth, buttery, there's that word again, dripping in butter type filtering and single oscillator loveliness. Now, it may well be that I've completely misunderstood it and there is actually a growling, howling horribleness inside it, but I can't seem to find that. What I do find is joy and loveliness and interesting modulations, some strange approaches to sequencing, some randomisation, which is just to die for, all wrapped up in a tiny little box. It's a plastic box. It's not made of metal, but then the price point of this places it somewhere reachable. You know, it has a vibe of the Mother 32 to a degree, but at a third of the price, half the price, something like that. And actually what it reflects is the evolution of the Pittsburgh Modular SV1. SV1 is a lovely synthesizer voice from Pittsburgh Modular, their sort of most famous, most successful voice, I think. But Pittsburgh Modular have changed. They seem to have got themselves ensnared by Cre8audio, and they've developed this creative partnership that's really bringing out some interesting flavors. So if you take the oscillator from the SV1 and the filter section of things that Pittsburgh Modular have been working on and massaging for a decade, that's what you're going to find in here. And the result is an oscillator that sounds really nice in different ways, and a filter which is just lovely all the way round, all the time. You can push it into a little bit of screaming, but not to the horror of everything else. It's a screaming which feels right and appropriate and useful and musical. And that's what I'm finding in here. And then to round it all off, what Richard at Pittsburgh has done is developed this digital side, this engine which starts off with the keyboard here, which is in fact a MIDI controller, which you can use to send out and control other MIDI gear if you want, but it's also converted into CV, so you can use it for playing other CV gear. And in fact, if you were to pop this out of the case and put it into the Eurorack, which you absolutely can do, it would become a little Eurorack CV gate keyboard. Phenomenally useful. And sequencer. Oh, that's useful too. And arpeggiator. Oh, right, the usefulness is starting to build upon itself. But then beyond that, it has this digital modulation engine, which offers further LFOs, further envelopes, randomisation. And then they did something weird to the sequencer, where it can self-generate and go off and do all sorts of things by itself, which is interesting. And then they started to poke that randomization into the waveforms and into the filter itself. So it becomes this little funfair of stuff going on. These are moving, this is moving, everything's moving and knocking about the place, and it allows you to explore interesting ideas and just sit there and fiddle. You're not just playing a tune, you're now investigating all sorts of bits of modulation. It does remind me a little bit of the auxiliary output of the Mother 32, because like in that's hidden away behind multiple folds of strange button presses in order to work out what on earth you can do with that thing. This has a little bit of that built in, where you're going which buttons in order to get the what to get the where. But similarly also it's a bit like the Nymphus from Dreadbox, which has a strange menu system based on lights. This has a bit of that. And so in their attempts to keep it simple, to keep it affordable, There are certain, hurdles perhaps you have to get over in order to understand exactly what it is that's going on and what these lights are precisely telling you. But that's all part of the fun. That's part of the adventure and the journey to getting to that point. We go, oh, right, okay. How do I turn? Oh, yeah, I turn that off like that. But anyway, what I'll do, I'll bring you in and we'll just look at the basics, and hopefully around this I will pump in some other sound examples and patch examples of what it can do, because it is, as a semi-modular, completely patchable. So as an East Coast style subtractive synthesizer, which means you have an oscillator, you have that running into a filter, you have a VCA, and you have an envelope. Those are your basic building blocks. Add in an LFO and you've got a fun time single oscillator monophonic semi-modular synthesizer. That's fun all day. Yeah, the keyboard is clacky and buttony. That's what it is. There's no velocity, there's no aftertouch, I don't think. It is purely for playing a few notes or sequencing something or arpeggiating something. And there's no way I'm going to say that that's completely awesome, because it's not. It's simple, it's basic, and it does the job. Interestingly, as I say, you can route that out to MIDI and control other things if you want. Octave buttons. So simple stuff. But it is just so lovely in every way. Let's just hold a note, shall we? So essentially the keyboard has this multifunction ability, which is labelled either in green or in blue. And these two buttons here give you access to green, in brackets here, and blue, in brackets. I mean, this button should be green and this button should be blue. That would make things a whole lot easier, but no, they're just sort of ironically bracketed, as if to suggest that this is blue and this is green. But all that matters is that you hold the green button, and now you can access all of the green stuff. So if I want to change the waveform here, I can do that on the oscillator wave button. So you have 4 different waveforms, but you also have combinations, and it steps through as you go through. So there's our square wave with nice pulse width modulation, but then you get a combination of the sine wave and the ramp. Then you get sine wave and square wave. Then you get those two noisy ones together. Then you get the lot, which creates some kind of weird noise thing. Then you're back to your basics. So nice sine wave, triangle, and then back to our sawtooth. You also have glide, pulse width on the square wave, FM modulation, which comes directly from the LFO. The LFO has a couple of ranges. It can go really down to low speed or up into an audio rate. So over to the filter. This is the PGH state variable filter. Pittsburgh Modular say that this is designed to have no dead spots at all. It's just lovely and cool all the way around, and it is that. I mean, this is at full resonance. You can just roll that off a little bit. And it's just super nice. It's just lovely. You have different filter modes, of course, bandpass, high pass as well, which you can access via another green button. In the envelope section, we get a regular ADSR. This is also normaled to both the VCA, which is just the volume knob here, and to the filter. And you've got a depth knob of envelope filteriness here. Now that's kind of an efficient way to combine a single envelope into two modules rather than having individual envelopes. But it also kind of has its downside as well. Now, as we'll see in a minute, there's another envelope hidden away in the back of the Beast, which you can use separately on either the filter or the VCA. So there are ways out of this single envelope business, which I'll show you in a minute. But first of all, let's get stuck into things like the arpeggiator and the sequencer, which are available down here. ARP Sequencer. Let me see if I can turn that into, if I remember how to turn it into the what I need it to be. I'm pretty sure you need to set it running before you can then change it. So I'm going to change it into an ARP, I think. There's also combinations of filters. But let's stay with the one that I understand. Now there may be other modes for the ARP, but I haven't found those yet. I should have a look because the digital engine is quite deep. There's several pages devoted to it in the manual, and I haven't absorbed absolutely all of it yet. I'm just trying to give you the quickest and most efficient way through. So you can change that into a sequence. Now the sequence light is lit, I think that's right. And let's clear that, and what we can do is just put some notes in, and it starts creating the sequence as you go. And I think there's 32 steps, or there could be. You could also stick in a rest, you know, and put stuff in. Let's put in something a little bit simpler. That'll do. So you can transpose the sequence. You can throw in some swing. As you'll notice, these lights here are doing things, and it's kind of showing you what level of swing or whatever that you're on. So the manual will show you the combination of lights that refer to what it is you're trying to do. It's so nice, that filter. Oh, it just creates this bounce, this loveliness. Now it has a randomisation on the sequence, so I can just set that off, and then it will play the sequence that I put in randomly. And then we're back to normal. And then what gets interesting in the digital engine is that I can start randomizing the oscillator waveforms and then also the filter. So let's do the waveforms. And similarly, I can randomize the filter. And that immediately starts throwing in some interesting bits and pieces. Now that there is an element of getting the hang of this, when things are active, when they're not. I haven't quite spent enough time absorbing exactly what's going on, so I sometimes completely lose it. I was trying to transpose and I somehow didn't do that and ended up adding another note to the sequence. Well, you know, accidents happen. You can actually save patterns within it. You've got load and save here in order to load up different patterns, which is very interesting. So you can find something awesome, save it, and then move between them, which is always nice. Lastly, we'll look at the multi, which is something that brings out an alternative form of modulation. So out of this multi output here, there can be a number of things. If we stick it into the filter, it will probably give us the best chance of understanding what it is that's going on. So multifunction here, green button. Let's put it to the beginning. Now this one I believe is MIDI control. So if I had a MIDI keyboard attached, which you can, it has MIDI input, so you can run this completely from something else or from a DAW, whatever you like, MIDI input. You can stick a modulation wheel and that will come out of here and be applied to whatever you want to apply it to. So a little bit of MIDI to CV conversion there, which is nice. The next option is an LFO. Which you can then add a division to by using the blue button to control the multi-control. Yeah. Next up is randomisation. Again, you can change the time division. And lastly, you have an envelope. And at this, we've got it plugged into the filter, so this is bypassing this envelope straight to the filter, which means you now have a separate VCA and filter envelope, or you have it the other way around, or you can use it for whatever you like, of course. There's no individual control over the size of that envelope, you just have various versions of it with which to select. And of course patching is here to do with whatever you want. So I can take the LFO for instance, stick that into pulse width. Take the envelope out, stick that into the FM input. So there you have it, the East Beast from Cre8audio and Pittsburgh Modular, a combination of minds and creativity that takes them into the woods in order to seek out some form of synthesizer. It's nice, it's smooth, it's mellow, it's quite a joyful little fun synthesizer that just sounds delicious. I can't quite get over how nice it sounds. That combination somehow of that very mature filter and oscillator combination is just really nice. Really nice. I mean, I've been farting around with, I farted around with it for a little bit on the keyboard here, just playing it, having it quite quietly in the background, thinking, oh yeah, no, this is all right. But once you started listening to it properly, it just opens up and you go, oh, well, this is really nice. I mean, I went on a bit of a journey looking for the beast, trying to find the overdrive button. Where's the crinkle bit crushing, nastiness that's supposed to be in here, and I can't find it. It's a lovely smooth monster that you just want to stroke and give a cuddle and say, it's all going to be all right, we've found you, you can come in here, have a nice hot cup of tea, here's a blanket, let's play some really nice tunes. And then, as you have a conversation with it, you work out that, it's got these interesting depths, it's got this strangeness about it. It's not a Mother 32, it's not that. It's something else. It's also not like a no coast, because this is simple East Coast subtractive synthesis. So there's nothing bizarre. It's just intelligently thought through combinations of changes, of randomisation, of an interesting sequencer. Oh, I haven't even shown you how the sequencer generates. So I showed you randomisation, but with generation, what I can do is got a little sequence going, hit this blue button, and it'll just start making its own sequences. And this is another feature that I haven't exactly gotten to the bottom of, but it just seems to go off and do its thing. If I hit it again, it seems to do it more, or it might do it less, but it seems to be doing it all as it is at the moment. And it's just going off on one. But that sound, that thickness, it's really nice. And this is with no effects on it at all. I mean, some of those other demos I did have a bit of delay or a bit of reverb on. This is just purely as it is. Stick in that random on the wave. And it's just off. Then it does something else. Great, what a lovely thing. What a great thing. The interface is, it's what it is. They could have added a display to it to give you a bit more information on exactly what's going on, but then that just adds to the cost and the complexity. Whereas as it is, you can access nearly everything that you need. There's a few extra bits on these lights here, which you just have to get the hang of or look into the manual and work out yourself. It's not difficult, but also it's a thing you have to get the hang of. The fact that you can drop it into your Euro rack is really cool. It also gives you, as I say, the MIDI in and out, which makes this keyboard incredibly useful within a relatively small setup, but is at home just as much on the desktop as a synthesizer. There's no USB, as far as I can tell. There might be one inside, I suppose. Just very simple, does what it says. So that's about it on this little fella. I hope that's been useful. In the meantime, go make some tunes.